Hey YouTube, it's MJ. How are you? So I was sitting with what I wanted to share today, and there was a few different elements, hence like life spiraling into presence, and how it's really all about living in the now and being present, and more of us are more aware of that. And yet I read Eckhart Tolle's The Power of Now when I was 19 years old, so that's like 17 years ago, and it really has taken all this time to kind of really feel into and embody that in a tangible way. And if I'm honoring my truth in the journey, reflecting it back to you guys, for me it has been a process. There's been a process of unraveling, hence the word spiraling, is that more so life becomes this sort of spiraling ebb and flow, this sort of looking at cyclical patterns on a daily basis, mental patterns, and then broader cycles, life cycles, monthly cycles, all of that, sort of integrating those aspects of a spiral rather than a line. And when you're living like that, there is a merging of self, so you sort of expand your awareness, but then your embodiment is ever more in the present moment. And that, I feel, is when we do become more effective channels for value and service in a certain sense. Although for me, the process was unraveling a lot of these sort of counterintuitive beliefs, these paradoxical beliefs that they kind of resist the present moment because we're so conditioned to think we know what's right for us, think we know what's right for everybody else, think we know it's right. And knowing is a limitation in essence. Mental knowing is a fixed state, which any fixation is a limitation to a certain degree when we recognize we live in an infinite vibrational universe, right? So when we can expand those mental constraints, our whole experience expands to be more present. So another element that I was sitting with was this idea of why do we go through this darkness, as it were? Or you could even say the darkness is like the system, the Dark Lord, those dark forces in the world. And you could say it's part of our own soul's choice as an experience. And we talk a lot about the ascension and let's ascend. Well, we have to acknowledge that if we're ascending, we descended. So there was just another piece that came in for me as far as wow, okay, so on a soul level, we choose to descend to the earth, descend to this sort of leading edge, you could say, this pulled out aspect of consciousness, which to the point believes in its own separation, believes in its own singularity apart from all that is. And that is the descension. So we're born in a state of sort of blindness, but in our purity, because we're kind of closer to our soul's access point into this field of awareness. And then there seems to be a collective program and journey here that we descend. We then have life experiences, and they're often dark and twisted and create a lot of suffering, and there is a lot of suffering. And we've told this story of ages of suffering and warring and all of that, and yet there are beautiful pieces of human grace and histories of golden, you could say, civilizations, which they fell too. So there's no point in holding to any past or present or anything other than now, hence present. So as more beings merge into their presence field, the alignment of the earth also raises its frequency. So this whole transition is so expansive, and the way we merge with it, to me, there is a sort of spiraling process of integration, which is the unraveling of our old conditions and the birthing of the new. At the same time, I'm only sharing my own personal experience, and so I am aware that there are other processes, and there are also such things probably as pretty pure beings who have very little backlog to shift. I call it the karmic backlog. They have very little backlog to shift, or none at all. So they're already in a pretty divine kind of presence state. And then I also do believe in kind of instantaneous, miraculous healing, that we can have such profound experiences that really does almost wipe the slate clean in one go. And so people have very dynamic rebirth experiences, and mine has been increasingly so. But you could say, I guess, because of my own unique path, it's been very self-aware. So I've very much undergone this process, more than likely as a guidepost for other people, because it's very self-directed, and it is a process that I believe that those who resonate with the material, they'll intuitively get it, right? Like I have read so many different spiritual texts which felt already like in me. They were just reflecting back an inner knowing, which I really feel is our service to one another. And in these times, our service to one another is to reflect back like the truth of our own knowing and that clarity, and at the same time deepening our love and compassion and our ability for self-responsibility. So our ability to, when we recognize toxicity in a situation, to walk away rather than try to kind of control or try to fix the people or try to make them see that their behavior, whatever, just kind of walk away, do the energy work to clear the energy, and then move in to your new reality. Because that, I've observed and worked with teachers where it's like they say that instantaneous shift, and yet for me it's taken this sort of inner process, this inner yoking, this embodiment, this contrast, this sifting. And then increasingly so, what it gives us is that kind of amplified faith to keep stepping in the direction. And so there's more and more instantaneous vibrational reality shifts around me, like new reality. And it's fun. And that, I think that's the golden nugget, is that when we start to understand in such a way that we can effectively practice it and see the effects and rewards of it, it's almost like, so you guys know Alta Love is spearheading the Be the Change courses. We're doing a zero waste, Zenful zero waste. Like it's not crazy. It's just like, helping people make the shift. Zenful zero waste, plant-based diet, unplugged, and spirituality. So like just the nuggets that I've deduced and like how that supports us. And now these 4 pillars are kind of like almost like just ramping up out of nowhere. And it allows, because of the practice up to this point, it allows that kind of taking those leaps into those new realities, and having the courage to keep shape-shifting to your preferred desires in the present moment. So the present moment clarity is really all there is, and yet what you can observe in your life is like you're going to break free from a kind of linear perspective into a more cyclical, observational perspective. And then once you really hook into that, you just don't want to go back. That's what I was going to say. Like one of the pillars is unplugged, and I was sort of sitting with it and working with different people and helping them unplug, and some people resisting it or not wanting to, or like some people from my old life saying you have to watch this or do this, and I'm just really aware of staying in my integrity basically, and being honest with you, and like I wouldn't go back. There's no one could like pay me enough to go back to watching the news and watching TV and watching adverts and stuff, because like the feeling of creativity takes over. Like this creatorship energy of your own life takes over, and that becomes your entertainment. That becomes your kind of joie de vivre and your zest for life, not necessarily watching other people's programs. Although I love entertainment. I do love a good movie, and I do love watching YouTube people and all that kind of stuff. I'm engaged in a much more balanced way with external versus like an internal, not just kind of on this blind loop of engaging with external consumption patterns that kind of have just been put on you. So there you have it, guys. I hope that was useful to you. Off to another session at Central London. Get in touch if you're interested in the Be the Change courses, molly@altalove.com or teamlove@altalove.com. I'm sure all the stuff is down below, maybe not yet, but I get there. Have a great day, you guys. Peace out. Enjoy.